Do you have an opinion that everyone seems to hate on you for, but you're just sure that you're right and everyone else is just completely wrong? Well, this is what we're looking at today, r/unpopular opinion. Buying name brands for commodities, sugar, orange juice, etc., instead of store brands is wasteful. If a product has a name brand manufacturer that gives it a special something, ingredients, etc., even packaging, then it can make sense to buy the name brand. But for commodities such as flour, sugar, and orange juice, unless you want to pay way more for a fancy package, the store brand version of the same name brand product is always a better bet. For example, sugar has name brand versions, a store brand and a cheap store brand. The most expensive name brand version has a resealable plastic package, so I can see buying that, but otherwise it makes no sense to buy anything except the cheapest store brand. I think this definitely depends on which type of commodity you're getting. If it's the same thing, like sugar is sugar, then yeah, go ahead, buy the cheap thing. Even with that resealable bag, just buy a container to put it in or something. That's way easier. For something like orange juice, I think there is a little bit of difference in the taste, but also like a black t-shirt like this, you don't need to buy the most expensive one. If it feels comfortable, it's cheap, then that's good enough. You should cut the person off if they like you, but you don't. If someone likes you, I believe that the least you can do is detach yourself from them. The earlier you're able to do that, the less hope the person can build up, which is a good thing when reality comes crashing down and they'll never be able to actually be with you. Some people say you should only cut the person off if they're creepy, but I just disagree. Also saying we can be friends is just not an efficient way to go about it, because that person still holds a connection with you, which makes it more difficult to move on past their feelings. I talked to people about this and most of them disagreed, but in my opinion, being the jerk is better if it means both parties will be better off in the long term. I don't think it's up to the other person in the situation to regulate your feelings and decide for you whether to cut you off or something like that. I think it's up to you whether you think that you can put your own feelings on the back burner because they've told you that they don't like you, whether you can move past that and sure, it might hurt, but you want to keep the friendship, or if you can only see that person as a potential partner and if you kind of have to cut yourself off to move past it and move on with your life. I think that's really down to you and not to the other person. Donuts don't live up to their smell. Walking past a donut shop or stand smells absolutely delicious, but it is a false sense of security and disappointment is inevitable. I don't know what it is, but the smell just doesn't translate at all when it's in your mouth. I've never eaten a donut I actually enjoyed, despite always being lulled in by the smell. They taste just meh in comparison. I discovered that maybe comparing the amazing smell to the taste was ruining the experience, but I actually think they still wouldn't taste great even if they don't smell amazing. I think it really depends on your taste. I mean, I am not the biggest fan of donuts aside from a cinnamon donut I really like. I think all the cream or jelly filled ones are just too sweet in my opinion. But I think you might just be getting bad donuts. Hotel porters are annoying and make arrivals unpleasant. I'm currently on holiday and it's the first time I'm staying in proper hotels rather than hostels or Travelodge style places, and I can't stand the way they greet you when you arrive. When I've traveled for work, you just arrive at the hotel and grab a key card and everything is good. But for tourism, there seems to be this whole song and dance. They tell you to leave your taxi with the suitcase still inside while you sit on a random chair and get given watered down mango juice. Every time you refuse, they keep insisting until you give in and walk away with your bag out of sight. They just stare at you while you drink, and once you finish the drink you didn't want, they follow you to the room and point out things every human knows, like what a bathroom is or how a light switch works. It's such an unpleasant and time-consuming experience. I wish I could just arrive and grab the keys, then become anonymous. I'd walk up 7 flights of stairs with my suitcase if it meant I could avoid porters lurking near the elevator trying to snatch my bag out of my hands. I think it really depends on what you're paying for and what they really do with that service. The service that you seem to be receiving does seem pretty annoying. You just want to make sure your own bag isn't stolen, everything. You want to have it on you. You don't want to be sitting around. You just want to grab your key and go to your room, which is totally fair. But if they're just sweet and they just open the door, make sure everything's right for you, and if they help out if you've got too many bags or something, then I think, that's helpful, that's nice. But I think forcing the luxury on you sometimes takes away from the luxury and just becomes more annoyance. The quote, "The hardest part is not to reach the top, but to stay in it," is not true. I'm definitely not saying that to stay on top once you've already made it there is easy. You still need to work hard to stay in your position, but it's definitely not the hardest part. It's easier to stay motivated and working hard when you're seeing results. For example, if you're a content creator that is already having millions of views in his videos, it's easier to spend hours editing when that is giving you thousands or even millions of dollars. The hardest part is to keep working when nobody is watching your videos, when it's giving you no money, when you're not having any opportunities. That's when it's the hardest to not give up and keep believing in yourself. Therefore, is a way bigger mental challenge the journey to the top than the work you have to do to stay there. I think it really depends on your mentality. I think being at the top can lull you into like a false sense of security, like, I've made it, I'm never gonna fall off. And so people who made it in terms of like money or something might spend it all on lavish, stupid purchases and then end up bankrupt. Something like, sport or content creation, they might not put as much effort in because they've already made it. I think also the motivation can come from enjoying what you're doing. If you like the content you're outputting, then it's pretty easy to make it even if no one's watching it because you enjoy it. Retailers should clamp down on return policies. Easy, no questions asked return policies are creating a return culture that is wasteful and increases prices for everyone. By some estimates, 30 to 40% of clothes purchased online get returned, and many of those items end up in a landfill. Many other items cannot be resold and are thrown away or resold onto the secondary market for pennies on the dollar. I rarely return purchases, generally only if the item is defective, but I still have to subsidize the return happy habits of everyone else. People need to think more carefully about purchases and only buy what they actually want. It will result in lower prices for everyone and create less waste. I'm not sure that this is the fault of just the returns as much as the return policy on the business's side, where they're not properly taking in the returns, such as if I were to return this t-shirt and it can be resold if it's just come to me, tried it on, doesn't fit. That's kind of how the try-ons work in the store. But if they're taking these returns and then sending them off to a landfill or something else when they're in perfectly good condition, then that's not exactly the returner's fault, that's the retailer's for not dealing with them properly. Grammar should be corrected. I think grammar and spelling should be corrected, immediately and without pretense or dancing around to make someone feel better. I have my own issues to work out, obviously, but seeing lose spelled out loose is crazy to me. Anecdotal, but it seems to have gotten worse. And because someone is mentioned and I have only referenced spelling, I seen him at the mall as an example of the horrendous grammar I can't stand. My country, America, is already crapped on for poor reading comprehension from adults. How chronically online people still misspell words is beyond me. But people that complain about being corrected should be publicly shamed. English not your first language? Congratulations on your attempt to speak another language. That is truly awesome. I have tried to speak German, and if I misspelled things in their languages, I would be corrected, and I wouldn't complain or make an excuse. I would thank them for the correction and move on. If you are so sensitive that being corrected hurts your feelings, harder things in the world are going to be much worse for you. Final thought. I am not saying that people getting upset at the misspelling is unpopular. I'm saying that it should be corrected and that the correction should be encouraged. Edit. Added grammar. Now, we love that edit at the end, just adding the grammar and correcting their own grammar. I think corrections and stuff like that is always good to help people out. I think it always comes down to the nuance and things like this. Like, how did you correct this person? Are you being an ass about it, or are you actually being helpful and kind? Wearing headphones in public spaces should be frowned upon. By wearing headphones, you are depriving yourself of one of the most important senses that is used to be aware of your surroundings. I have seen many people almost walk into traffic because they were oblivious to the cars approaching. You won't be able to hear someone sneaking up on you. You won't be present in a situation if something arises. We don't need constant stimulation. It's okay to listen to your own thoughts and be present in life. You might even be missing out on opportunities to meet someone special by being aware of what's going on around you. This seems like a little bit of a boomer take, which might be why it's unpopular. I think if you're wearing both headphones like this, then it can hinder you. You could walk out into traffic or something. But I think if you just got one AirPod in and listening to music, I don't see any reason that you can't hear your surroundings. I mean, maybe it's not perfect, but you can definitely hear the cars coming and honking at you when you walk out into the road. Alright, thank you everyone for watching. Like, subscribe, and tune in for the next one. Bye.